Okay, in this video, I'm going to go through the Chapter 6, Part 2 practice test. The first question asks you to write the equation in exponential form. So this is log form. We need to rewrite in exponential form. That means we need to do the log-ride. Woo! And it would be 2 to the 5th equals 32. And I really strongly suggest that when you're taking this test, normally I think these answers they're randomized for you. So A was my correct answer. A will not necessarily be your correct answer. But when you're actually taking the test, have a piece of paper out and write these down. It's much easier to do a multiple choice test like this particular question if you write down your answer and then compare your answer to the answer choices. Otherwise, you are just kind of guessing and you're letting your brain play tricks with you. Part B, again, write it in exponential form. Woo! 4 to the 3rd equals 64. That would be this one. You also have this tool. I'll circle it in blue. That's called the answer elimination tool. If you click that, it will allow you to put big X's through the ones that you know are not right. So don't be afraid to use that tool. That could be really helpful while you're taking the test. Okay, then we're going the other way. Write this in logarithmic form. If you're writing it in logarithmic form, it needs to have a log in it. Woo! You start with log. The first number that the log-ride touches is the base, and then the next number that we write is the next number that that log-ride touches. And then we go around the equal sign equals -2. So you want to look at the ones that equal -2 and then make sure you have log base 5 of 1/25 equals -2. Woo! Log base 16 of 8 equals 3/4. So you want the ones that say equals 3/4, and then you want to make sure it's log base 16 of 8. Evaluate the logarithm. The easiest way to do this is to put equals x and then change forms. Woo! 7 to the x equals 1. This one might be a little bit tougher. If you know how to evaluate this in your calculator, you absolutely can evaluate this in your calculator. I know that anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So I know that this is 0. You could also use, if you have the TI-84, you can use the keystroke alpha window 5, and that will bring up that little log template, and you can type in log base 7 of 1, and your calculator will tell you that it's 0. If you don't have that fancy feature, you can always use the change of base, which is you do log button of the number in the log divided by log button of the base, and your calculator would tell you 0. This particular problem, it should be pretty easy that you should be able to do guess and check. I know that 5 squared is 25, so I try 5 to the 3rd. 5 to the 3rd is 125, so I know that that is 3. This one might take a little bit longer if you wanted to evaluate the log. If I do log button 243 divided by log button 3, log button 243, divided by log button 3, I get 5 because log base 3 of 243 is 5. That means 3 to the 5th is 243. Inverse function. Your first step is to switch x and y. And then you need to try to get y by itself. And you do this by changing forms. And I always put the equals x over here on the right side because I'm used to doing the log-ride starting at the 7 and going around to the right. So, woo! Log base 7 of x equals y. So we want y equals log base 7 of x. We want that one. Here's another, find the inverse. This time it involves ln. First step, switch the x and the y. And then I always write equals x over on the right side because it's just easier for me. The other thing that you need to remember is that ln means log base e. So now when I change forms, I have e to the x equals 7y. We need to get that y by itself. So we have e to the x divided by 7 equals y. So that 7 needs to be on the bottom. That would be that answer. Okay, I really like this question, but I don't know how it shows up on your screen. So I want to make sure I spend some time on this problem. I'm also going to give you some hints. First of all, the biggest thing is that you need to be using Chrome. Chrome works for this problem. If you are trying to use Microsoft Edge, it does not work. It doesn't allow you to click multiple boxes in each row, and that's problematic because you need to click multiple boxes. The hint that I want to give you is that there are going to be 2 boxes per line, and there's going to be 1 box per column. Okay. All right, so the first thing I see in G in this one is the +5, and it's inside the parentheses, so I know that that is horizontal. So really quick, I'm just going to write out y equals a times log of x minus h plus k. This is right or left. This is up or down. This is a stretch or shrink. If there's a negative here, that negative flips it over the x-axis. It flips it up and it's like a vertical flip. If there's a negative in here, this is a flip over the y-axis. It's a horizontal flip. So you may want to write that down, have that, study that, because that's the pattern. So this +5 is a right or left, and it's backwards. You may also want to note that right or left is always backwards. So +5 actually means left 5s. That's a translation left. Okay, the 1/3, that number is smaller than 1, so that is a vertical shrink. All right, in the next one, the +3, that's outside of the parentheses, that's up or down, and that is, sorry, that's my daughter, she wants to see the trash truck. That +3, that's normal, that is a translation up. The negative that you see inside, that's that flip over the y-axis that I just talked about. So that is reflection across the y-axis. In the next one, -2, that's talking about that inside, that right or left, and it's backwards. So -2 means right 2. And this negative, I think I'm running out of colors. I might have to start reusing my colors. Oh my gosh. This negative is talking about that flip over the x-axis. So reflection across the x-axis. Okay. The 4, actually let's do the -7 first. So the -7, that is down 7. And then the 4, that is bigger than 1, so that is a vertical stretch. So notice in here, you've got like each function is going to do one of these things. So you are going to have 1x in each of those columns. So one of them is going to involve vertical stretch. One of them is going to involve vertical shrink. One of them will have each of those things. And then each function itself has 2 things. So notice there are 2 boxes in each row. Okay, question 6 is looking at a graph, and it's using the same things. So what you need to know is that graphs of logarithms have vertical asymptotes. The original logarithmic function, so log base 3 of x, without that -2, without the +3, it would have a vertical asymptote right here at x equals 0. Remember, vertical asymptotes, that's vux. It's x equals something. So if you move this graph up or down, it's not going to change that asymptote. It's moving it side to side. If you move this graph left or right, it will take that vertical asymptote and shift it left or right. So when we look at this one, the -2 means that this graph has shifted right 2. So when you look at the graph, you can see here is that vertical asymptote at x equals 2. This is a drop-down menu, so you'll need to select x equals 2. The domain is x values, the range is y values. So the domain and the asymptote are linked together. The domain is going to be x and something to do with 2. All of these points have x values over here that are bigger than 2. It is on the right side of the asymptote, so x is greater than 2. The range is the easy one. That's the one that's all real numbers. Okay? Number 7, expand the logarithm. You need to remember that multiplication inside the log becomes addition between the logs. Division in the log becomes subtraction. So I typically do ln2 ln of x to the third. There's multiplication in between them, so there's plus in between them. The other thing you need to remember is that exponents move in front of that term. So we are going to have ln of 2 plus 3 ln of x. ln of 2 plus 3 ln of x. In part B, I would start by writing log base 3 of 5, log base 3 of x, log base 3 of y. Remember that 5x is not 5x, it's 5 times x. So those need to be separated. And, oh, this was a y squared. The 5 and the x are on the top, so those two logs are going to be positive. The y squared was on the bottom, so that log is going to be negative. Then the exponent needs to move in front. So our final answer is log base 3 of 5 plus log base 3 of x minus 2 log base 3 of y. Log base 3 of 5 plus log base 3 of x minus, there we go. Another expand. And you might be able to start doing this even quicker. It's going to be log of x to the third, so that 3 is going to go in front, and log of y to the fourth, that 4 is going to go in front. The x to the third is on the top, that log's going to be positive. The y to the fourth was on the bottom, that log's going to be negative. The plus in front you don't really need, but it's just to go along with all of that, so that would be our correct answer. Condensing is doing the opposite. So put the exponents back and then think about addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, all that good stuff. So this is ln. The 5, this first ln is positive, so the 5 is going to be on top. And this would be x squared, so x squared. ln of 5x squared. This would be log of 5 to the third and log of x to the fourth. It's addition, so you would multiply those two things together. 5 to the third, x to the fourth. Is there no... I kind of thought there was a part C on that one. Isn't a condensing with subtraction, so you may want to try this one. Log of 3 plus 2 log of x minus 5 log of y. That would be log of 3x squared over y to the fifth.